Hello, MGB here, back with part 4 of the NAM tutorial series. Today we're going to look at the network widening mod and street add-on mod, both of which are starter piece based networks. Just briefly, I wanted to show you some of the possible configurations. As you can see here, there are a couple of network widening mod networks that are crisscrossing the city here. I'll go into what those are in a little while. Here is a SAM network. There's another one here and the red street here as well, and basically these networks are just designed to give a bit more variety to the roads and streets within your city. So as I've mentioned previously, these are starter piece based networks we're going to look at today. To begin with, let's start with the street add-on mod, and that can be found here in the road menu, otherwise known as SAM. And when I say a starter piece, essentially what we do is just plop the very first piece here. That's known as the starter or override piece. And as this is a street-based network, if we then drag a street through that starter, upon doing so, it overrides the remaining street pieces that are connected to it to conform to this new network. Now the SAM1 is just designed as a parking network, so you can drag a few streets around in various configurations. There aren't actually that many pieces for the SAM1 network. There's a four-way T-junction, a curve piece, and the basic straights. But in essence, you can use this to make a nice little car park, and you'll automatically get vehicles populating those parking spaces as well. Now, those who've used the SAM mod before may notice that a few of the SAM networks I have here are not standard networks that included the NAM. They're based on mods. That includes this parking network. In addition, this is the SAM5 one. That's a mod by Rivet. This SAM6 texture is slightly darkened from the original NAM textures. That's one of my mods. And this is a mod I did with Catalyst for the SAM7 to add a bike lane, i.e. bike paths, onto the streets itself. I will leave some links to these 4 mods on the tutorial. Just bear in mind that your SAM streets may be slightly different, but that's another thing that's worth noting. There are various mods out there for the SAM streets, so it is possible to have different streets to the ones that you see here. So have a look on the exchanges for those. So in essence, I've already plopped down the starter pieces for the other 9 SAM networks, and if you see, as I drag through with the street, we end up with quite a nice variety of different street options that you can mingle with the regular streets, as so, just to give a little bit more randomness and different appearance within cities that you build. So there's just one last thing I want to mention before we move on from the SAM networks. So let's pick the red SAM streets here, for example. So in order for an override network to work, you may remember this from part 1, there need to be a number of tiles to stabilize the connection. What this means in essence, if I have a diagonal going up here, and then I wanted to connect it straight into a road on the first tile off the diagonal, see how that doesn't work? If I delete the road, put it 1 tile further forward, and then connect it, you see now that works fine because there's a tile just allows it to stabilize the override into place. Another thing that's worth noting here, so I can put now a regular Maxis street along the top here, but if I delete that road stub and try and connect it with just a normal street, because the override's in place, it will automatically override the existing street as well. So that road stub, when it was placed, and again, if I just click every couple tiles and remove, I can destabilize the connection and bring it back to regular streets. And that one road stub there is enough to provide like a breaker between the 2 networks so you can transition them. Now you might find that having a few more tiles would look nicer, or one of various other configurations. See, this gives a much nicer transition when the junctions are totally split from each other. One other thing you might need to bear in mind is that not all the configurations that you can make with the street network are possible with the SAM network. Most of them are there, but not exactly all of them. So for example, if you see this configuration here, if I try to copy that with SAM, see the basic three-way junction works, but as I try and put the fourth piece through, this texture isn't supported, and that again destabilizes what's going on. So you can choose here, okay, I won't have the one connection going off diagonally or the one connection going off here. But there are a few slight limitations. As I say, by and large, most things are supported. So it's just a case of trying it out, really, and seeing what you can do with it. So just as with the SAM network, once more we go to the road menu, and here we have the network widening mod puzzle pieces, and this contains all the starters for the various network widening mod pieces. There are actually three other icons for the network widening mod. Just go through those very quickly. So here we have some transition pieces. This is for transitioning regular networks into the network widening mod. Some of those you might find quite handy in given situations, just like the puzzle pieces we've been using before. Plop those into place. So in this case, this transitions an avenue into the Road 6 network. The one thing you will note here, there's no starter piece on this end. So when using these transitions, it's necessary to find the appropriate starter piece and to have one of those in place just to get the network widening mod parts of the network to work correctly. See, that gives you a nice transition between the regular avenue network there. In addition to that, there are some curve pieces. These don't cover many of the networks, there are only just a few of them, but you might find those useful. Lastly, there's this neighbor connector piece, and I shall go into what they do a little bit later. So for now, as we did with the SAM mod, here's all the starter pieces for the various networks already ready to go. I'll start up here. These are the one-way road networks, and they require you to use the one-way road tool to drag them. So here's the starter. We have the one-way road 1, which just basically means one lane. So if you see here, here's the normal one-way road with 2 lanes. Then there's a one-way road 3, a one-way road 4, which you'll note actually requires 2 tiles of space, and a one-way road 5, again requiring 2 tiles of space. So those are the ones that you can use with the one-way road tool. Moving over here, we have the turning lane avenue 3. Basically that's just a 2-lane road, but in the middle there's the option for traffic to turn left or turn right without having to go to an intersection to do so. Here is the AV2. It's basically just a nice compact 2-lane avenue. This is the ARD3 network, and this is most useful, I find, if you have a long hill going up with a road and you want to simulate the idea of a climbing lane sort of thing, so that heavy goods vehicles would use the leftmost lane or rightmost lane if you're on a right-hand drive game, so that they can get up the hill slowly with a passing lane for traffic. These are really useful for that situation. This is also the network, if you remember, that interfaces with the turbo roundabouts we used before. Here is the NRD4, and this allows you to have 2 lanes in each direction of road in just one tile network. That's quite a handy one as well. It's the turning lane avenue 5 here. So much like the turning lane avenue 3, there's a turning lane in the center, but this time there are 5 lanes in total. Here's the road 4 network. Again, 2 lanes in each direction. And this one is a 2-tile network. So you see there's actually the option to have 4 lanes over 1 tile, nice and compact, or 4 lanes over 2 tiles if you want something that takes up a bit more real estate. Lastly, here there's the Road 6 network, and this allows you to have 3 lanes of traffic in each direction. Now, the Road 4 and the Road 6, which you see here, these networks also have turbo roundabouts in addition to the standard Maxis Avenue that can be connected to them. Lastly, there are 2 3-tile networks I should also cover, and that is the Avenue 6, which uses 3 tiles and gives you a 3-lane road in each direction, and the turning lane Avenue 7, which just adds a turning lane into the AV6. So I just want to talk about the diagonal networks in relation to the network widening mod. Now, firstly, you'll note that not all the networks are supported. By and large, the single-tile networks all are, but the multi-tile networks, only a few of them are, and there's a slightly special technique you need to do to get the diagonals to appear correctly. So from here, we're going to call this the inside tile. See, as I drag the diagonal like so. From the outside tile, I need to go up 1 more tile and then drag in once more. And when I get to the end, you see that would actually not work correctly. So if I drag the outside tile first and then connect the inside tile up like so, we get a nice diagonal connection. We'll just do that again on the Road 6 network to give you another example. So if I drag here like so, and 1 tile up, drag the outside, and see where I wish to transition to the straight, that's where I've got this stub. And see, I can pull from that stub to get my transition back. And then it's much better to take the inside from the other side and drag into it. And again, nice clean set of diagonals there. Move from here, so we now have the 3-tile networks, because these are a little bit more complicated again because you've got to account for that middle tile. So once more, we drag here, we've got a nice clean stub that we can come off of. 1 tile extra on the center, drag that through. 2 tiles extra on the outside, and again, drag that into place. If I pull that there and then remove the outer stub, you see I get my transition correctly there. And then once more we'll come in 1 tile less and then 2 tiles less, like so. And that's a nice easy way to make the diagonals with the network widening mod. I showed you before some of the transition pieces, and these are puzzle-based pieces like we were using in the last part of the series. There are some other ways to transition the network widening mod though, which are a little bit more user-friendly if you ask me. So here we have some of the network widening mod networks, and here we have some avenues, some roads, and in this case we have another network widening mod, the one-way road 3 network. So if we just take the road 1 tile away in each of these instances and drag, see we get an automatic transition between the 1 tile networks and the road, saving you having to plop additional puzzle pieces into place. Now these are flexible based transitions. In a similar sense, we can drag TLA 5 and the road 4 directly into the avenue, and we can even do that with the Road 6 network. Up here, if I switch to the one-way road tool, it's possible to switch directly, let's get that the other way around, into 2 split one-way road 3s. What's important to remember is, if you see here, there are 3 lanes in each direction. So 6 lanes converts to 2 one-way road 3s. Makes sense, doesn't it? Most of these connections that can be achieved follow the same principles. I think it's about time now to show you the neighbor connection piece we saw earlier. So here we have two of the network widening mod networks. The fundamental principle here, if you have a single tile network and you want to go between two cities, so like you would with the regular game, drag over the edge, only in this case, because it's a 3-tile network, we do it with all 3 tiles, or with the 2-tile network here, if I actually get that correct. We do it with both tiles, like so. Now when these networks are only single tiles, you will automatically get a neighbor connection that will work without any further fuss. However, for the multi-tile networks, you need to select the neighbor connection pieces here and actually add one of these pieces on top on either side of the connection, otherwise it simply won't work. So there we have the road 4. You can see all I'm doing is just clicking and placing that on top of the existing network. I shall do the same with the TLA7 connector here, like so. When you go into the neighboring city, you'll find that once more you need a starter piece to start the network widening mod. Once you've got that into place and a few tiles down, again, just put the neighbor connection piece into place, and that will ensure that these connections will work. If you don't do that, then you'll find there's no traffic coming from one side to the other through these connections. So once more, we've come to the end of this part of the NAM tutorial series. So before I go today, I just want to say that I have not shown you all the possibilities that you can make using the network widening mod in SAM networks. So I highly encourage everyone to open a test city and just experiment with the pieces and see which options are and are not available, and hopefully this will enable you to create cities with much more variety and a more interesting layout of roads and streets. Hope to see you for the next part of the NAM tutorial series.